He is your number 2 quarterback, but the headline, number 1 in other years.
That's right. Jaden Daniels. Slam dunk. Number 2, Washington Commanders run to the podium as soon as Caleb Williams gets handed into Chicago. Boom. Slam dunk right here. You know what time it is. It's Chris Simms. It's Chris Simms Unbuttoned. Ahmed Fareed is here, and Quarterback Rankings 2025 style is back today. That's right. Hey, hold on. We don't clap it up till after the pod, all right? We're not done yet.
Call.
But, yes, last year was a lot of fun doing the quarterback rankings.
Gosh.
I mean, Jaden Daniels, as we saw, maybe should have been number 1 pick. Either way, he was phenomenal. It was a great class last year. This class is a little different, but nonetheless intriguing. We got lots to talk about. It's that time there, Slugger.
This is
What's
it.
up, man? How are you?
I feel like there are a few pods every year that stand out amongst the rest.
Right.
Maybe when you reveal your number 1 quarterback in the top 40 quarterback rankings, although maybe a lot of times we usually know by then. I don't know. This might be number 1, the one that resonates the most because – love you or hate you, which, people will voice both opinions in the comment section.
Right.
This stands out every year.
Yeah, well,
your view of the quarterbacks, you've gone deep dive into what these guys can do, what these guys can't do. It's not always consensus. Most times it's not, but I give you a lot of credit because this has become a thing.
It has become a thing. I enjoy doing it. And, of course, yes, I'm not going to be influenced by other people or what I've heard people say and anything of that nature. And quite honestly, it's pods like this that I got to say that made me who I am, was the draft quarterback rankings, right? That's why I think I am so glowingly, happy with Mahomes and Josh Allen and even Lamar Jackson. Because there were guys that, I kind of stuck my neck out there for, right? Really, one of my first neck out there kind of things was I was like, no, Derek Carr's better than Johnny Manziel, Teddy Bridgewater, or Blake Bortles, right? And that was one of my first ones ever, which I'm proud of, right? I'm not saying Derek Carr is a superstar or Josh Allen or Mahomes, but he's better than those 3, that's for sure. So, and I've had some swings and misses as well. And sometimes you do that when you see something you like and you fall in love. Zach Wilson, we know that was not one of my strong points. Okay, I was wrong there. I was right about some other ones in that one, but this is always a fun exercise. The draft itself is a fun exercise. I love it because, you're not going to be right. That's the challenge of it. That's the competitive part of it, is to look at it, evaluate it, piece it together, and then go, wait, does all those things that I just watch, does that make sense for him being a successful player at the next level? And, of course, you're not going to be right about all that stuff, but you take your experience, you try to work hard about it, and you try to kind of place it all together, and I think I've been, more successful than not, that's for sure.
Well, and that's the thing every year. There are people that are going to come to you at some point throughout these rankings and it's like, oh, hot take, trying to get clicks or whatever for your website. I don't even think you have a website. But ultimately, you want to be able to look back 3 years from now and be right on all this stuff. And so if you're just throwing it out there just to make noise today, you have a danger of not being
credibility?
right.
That's what I say to the people all the time on radio and stuff when they say that stuff. What would that do to my credibility? Do you think NBC would want to sign me up for multi-year extensions if they were like, hey, Chris just throws shit out there and then he just does it for clicks? Is that a sustainable? Are people going to continue to watch me and watch our podcast or watch Pro Football Talk if I'm just throwing out crap for hot takes? No, at some point, I better be good at something else then. I better be funny and hilarious or something, right? Because at some point people are going to turn it off and go, whatever he's saying. He's just a big mouth talking, right? So that's where I take great pride in this.
Yeah.
And I love it. I do love it. And it goes on my work resume. Right? I mean, whether it's Mahomes or Josh Allen or Burrow or C.J. Stroud, it goes on my – and you know what else is there? Zach Wilson. He's on my resume. I don't love that part of it. So I fight hard to not have those little glitches in the matrix on there. So, this is my life. I love it.
Yeah.
I got to answer it to my dad, my son. I mean, it can – my friends, my NFL head coach friends. If I was coming out saying stupid shit, right, do you think they would be my friends the same way anymore? No. Then my friends would be like, damn, Chris, I don't want to talk about football with you. What are you doing this week? What are you going to drink? What are you going to smoke? I don't know, blah, blah, blah.
You start talking quarterbacks,
right.
they change the subject.
They change the subject because they're like, oh, he's a hot take artist. He's an idiot. I don't know what, Chris. So, of course not. I love this. I really do. And I am passionately, involved in this on an everyday basis right now and want to be right.
And without your credibility, what do you have? Because as Pete says, you're not that funny. So,
Thank you, Pete.
I would push back on that. So we will get into it here. Let's take a look at comments from last year when we did this because it is a holiday. It's like Christmas. It's like Thanksgiving. It's like the divisional playoffs.
So these
for
are
you.
last year before
these
we
are
did this.
last year. I think on the video of your quarterback rankings,
Right.
you see it's a throwback here. Yebo Pa says Chris was one of the only ones to pick Patrick first. That's enough for him. So he's like,
case closed.
Case closed from here on out forever. You got the next comment saying that people need to realize quarterback evaluation almost impossible to get correct a lot. Chris still does a damn good job. Well
Thank you.
done
That's
there.
right. That's right. Not going to get them all right.
Look at Fent here. Fent's fair. I like this one. Chris Simms is simultaneously the most overrated and underrated draft analyst we have. A bunch of people take his word as gospel, and the same amount dismiss everything he says because he's been wrong before. In reality, he's one of the sharpest guys in the business. That doesn't mean he's batting 1,000, but he's one of the best by far. I appreciate him not listening to draft groupthink and going solely off tape. I love that. I mean, that's my big pet peeve is the groupthink that we have in this process.
Sure, yeah.
In this highly unpredictable thing where we come back in 2 years, do a redraft where it's all completely different than it was 2 years ago. Yet, 6 months, Pete says. Yet, for some reason, we believe every year that the top 50 is pretty much the top 50.
I know, yeah.
I don't quite get that.
And that's right. And, I mean, I think some of the groupthink is right, and there are some things there that they're positive about it. Usually groupthink is led by some people that are smart behind the scenes, right? Where it starts at the scout level. The scouts for these NFL teams, they start to talk to people. They talk to other draft insiders, and that starts to kind of build up. A lot of those players, too, are the ones we see on highlights on Saturday, so then they garner even more attention, right? But where I hope people can enjoy me or some other ones out there is, I'm going to pick through it and find some guys also to go, wait a minute, this guy deserves to be in the class too. Just because his team wasn't as good on the highlight show on Saturday doesn't mean he's not as good as that player you showed on the highlight show. And that's what we're here to do. And, hopefully we can do that, certainly. But this is by far the one I'm most pumped about, the quarterbacks always. I'm proud. I'm prideful.
Yeah,
and I'm
you should
ex-quarterback. I grew up with a quarterback. I've been around him my whole life. So, I'd like to think I know what I'm talking about a little bit, and I want to lead the people in the right direction, too.
The last comment was from Guy Fawkes that said Simms and quarterback analysis goes together like lamb and tuna fish.
Damn, does that go together?
I think he was trying to do a compliment there.
He was?
I think
right?
that's a
because
compliment.
That sounds disgusting to me, I'm just going to say. I mean, lamb, I can do lamb.
Yeah.
It's not one of my favorites. I don't love tuna fish.
Okay.
And I definitely wouldn't want to do them together. So I don't know if he's from another country there where that's popular.
He
but
says he looks forward to it.
It ain't that popular here.
Yeah.
Certainly not as popular as your
Anything
hoodie
else.
game. Your hoodie game right
thank
now.
you.
Because you are wearing a new hoodie today. I haven't seen this before.
Well, it's St. Patrick's Day. It's green,
so,
so
yeah.
I don't want to get pinched.
Yeah.
And this is the only green one I really
I
have.
was going to say, it's kind of green. It's
Mint.
kind of like fluorescent green.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were trying to match your water bottle or
I know.
your energy drink or
There's
something.
a lot going on here. Hopefully it's not distracting to one of the best podcasts of the year that we do here. So, all right, let's get into it by first comparing this class. You've looked at these guys. How many? 20?
Yeah.
25?
About 20. I think about 20 is where I cut it off, right?
Yeah.
I had a pretty good gauge. And to full transparency out there, I got a good gauge of... I accumulate some information from teams a little, right? To where I get top 20s at positions.
Sure.
They don't give me the grades or whatever. They just give me the names. So I have those, and not everybody has the same top 20, but they're very similar to where, like, this team might have, 18 out of the 20 of the same as the other person. So, that's kind of how I go about it. So, usually for a lot of the position groups, me as I do, it's usually somewhere between 20 and 25 guys at the position. I'm maybe not in some of the quarterbacks, pretty much all of them, but other positions I'm not down to the 7th rounders and some of those guys.
It's a lot of guys.
It
and
is a lot
last
of guys.
year, the guys at the top were really, really good. And we're talking about that being
Special.
A historic class up there with 1983 for
Right.
a record of first-round quarterbacks. We had six in the top 12. That was a record. Even 83 had never done that before. But there were no quarterbacks in rounds 2 and 3. And here's your list from last year. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels. You love Bo Nix, and that proved to be true because he led that team to a great season. Michael Penix, didn't see him until the end of the year. J.J. McCarthy, hopefully we see him a little bit more this year.
Right.
Drake May, you were lower on than anyone else last year.
Yeah, and he proved me wrong. That'd be one I was wrong on so far, at least so far, no question. And again, like I said, he's not going to be perfect. I understand that, and good on him. I want to make sure people know that too. You hear me say that a lot, but I know the people that might be turning in to this podcast for the first time. Just because I rank a guy fifth, I hope he proves me wrong. Or sixth. I root for it. I am rooting for young men to be successful, live their dream, and do all that. So I'm very happy for Drake May. I still have people come up to me and go, "Oh, Drake May," and I'm like, I love it. I'm glad he proved me wrong. So because I am the number one Chris Simms stan, and I will always vouch for you, even to an annoying level to those out here who don't want me to do that. Yeah.
You were lower on Drake May, but that was also because you were so high on Jaden Daniels, and here we are a year later, and you had Jaden Daniels as slam dunk number 2, when a lot of people out there said you're an idiot for not having Drake May as slam dunk number 2 with all the ability that he has. And so even in the misses, there's information there to be gleaned, and you were smack dab right on Jaden Daniels.
I hope so. And again, I think with some of the things I saw with Drake May, a lot of people saw, and there was concerns there from other people. But last year's class, that was a special class. That really was. And I think we said it pretty early on in the process too, because it was different last year where it wasn't projection based. This wasn't like Trey Lance, Justin Fields, right? Maybe Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, where you go, ooh, there's a lot of things I like, but it's not perfect, and I'm not sure what part of it's going to translate to the NFL, right? There was a lot of that. Oh, Trey Lance's arm's really strong, but damn, can he control it the right way? Stuff like that, right? This was a class last year that could play the position. Remember, that was the thing we kept saying. They know how to play quarterback. This is not just a guy that, he's fast, who throws it okay, or he has a great arm, but he's a bad decision maker. And that was what was special about last year, and I think it will continue to show itself as special as we go on here through the future.
So it will be hard for any class to stack up to the way last year's class. That's an all-time great class. So as in the shadows of that class, and you take a look at this class.
Yeah, let's hit that.
What do you think?
Well, the high-end guys are not in that same stratosphere, okay? I think I told you last week, maybe it was Connor. I've said this on Florio, other places. Cam Ward is the only guy in this class that would be up towards the top of last year's draft class, right? For me, in rankings. If I was going to be true to how I ranked them before they played in the NFL last year, right, and just went from that, I think Cam Ward would be up there with Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams as far as my 1, 2, and 3, right? I think if I was going to be true to myself, as much as I love Bo Nix, I probably would have made Cam Ward number 3 over Bo Nix if he was in that class. Now, the rest of these guys, they'd be towards the end of the group. And that's where it's a little different. And to your point and what you talked about a minute ago when we showed the graphic, the first rounders and the top 12 and all that, this is a year, and usually we see quarterbacks drafted in the first round, and then we don't see anybody drafted in the second or the third, and then the fourth, it starts a run on guys again, right?
Right.
I think this could be a year where we see quarterbacks go in the second and third round a little bit. The next tier of guys, the next group of guys is better than years past, right? I think this year's class has more depth and more guys where I told you before the pod, usually when I get to like the 6th, 7th, 8th guy, I go, well, yeah, he'll be in the NFL, but I mean, he's going to have to fight to be a third stringer, right? This is a year when I get down to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I go, this damn guy here he's going to be a backup for a long time. Like, this is legit backup. And there's some things like in the right situation, he could be a starter, right? And then there's on top of that some other guys where I go, they're maybe a little bit more of a project, but there's still some things there that I go, there's potential. And then you couple that with the human, I go, there's something there. So that's what I liked about this class as a quarterback class as a whole here.
So while last year might have been one of the greatest, if not it could play out as the greatest starting quarterback class in history, this one could be the greatest backup quarterback class in NFL history. The headline's not quite as cool.
I was wondering where you were going to that. I was like, where's he going to say here?
But maybe it's true. I mean, maybe some of these guys will be in the league for a long, long time, and we know how, the injuries and all that, how important the backup quarterback is.
It is extremely important. It is. And again, too, with a good football team, we talk about this a lot. Good football team, why wouldn't you want to have a good backup?
Yeah.
Why would you want to lose that insurance policy and have your good team that could be a playoff or Super Bowl team fall apart because you have a less than backup quarterback? We've seen teams make mistakes like that before. The good ones usually don't. There's value in these guys, definitely.
One more thing until we get into your
Yeah.
tier 1 quarterback one. Has anything changed in the way you evaluate quarterbacks this year?
I don't think so.
Have you prioritized anything? Have
I
you
can't say that I have.
self-scouted thyself in any area?
It's always a, growth and trying to evaluate yourself. But I don't know if there's anything this year compared to last year that jumps out. I think the biggest thing I've learned over the last few years is, just don't chase dreams or like, oh, I like that part. I think he's going to be so awesome just because I like that. I think that's what I fell in love with Zach Wilson a little bit. That would be one where I'd go if I had to self-scout myself, right? Or even like with Matt Corral. I don't like any of these guys, so I went with the guy that I just thought had the most talent, right? And then go, wait, no, there's more to it than that. I can't just go with that just because I like the way he threw the ball best. I can't make him number one. And again, I keep this all about on the field. I know a little bit about these guys behind the scenes, but if there's something here where somebody has some huge red flag, I certainly don't know about it, and that's not how I'm basing my evaluations. But yeah, that's the big thing is playing the position. Can he play the position? Don't get too obsessed with like, oh, he does this awesome. Wow, now I'm in love with that and have a crush on it. No, it's about the whole game and everything with it and, trying to evaluate it through that lens as much as possible.
The quarterback in totality.
Exactly.
And you have looked at all these guys and you have ranked them, which you do. We make you do all the time. The Chris Simms 2025 Draft Quarterback Rankings. We are starting with Tier 1. Quarterback number 1. You may have already somewhat given it away.
Yeah, I think I have. I mean, I've said it on here too. I know you weren't here last week, and I've been telling everybody, listen, there's no secret this year. This is no secret.
But pretend there is a secret.
Well, here's the secret.
Your number 1 quarterback is?
My number 1 quarterback is the same guy that's number 1 on all 32 teams' boards, and that will be Cam Ward from Miami.
There we go.
That's where this year is. I would be shocked right off the bat if any team didn't have Cam Ward number 1. Right? Other years I'd go, oh, okay, yeah, it's debatable. I get it. That team likes that team. I don't agree with that, but sure. All right, great. Right? But this is not one of those years. I think this is a slam dunk. And I think when you talk about Cam Ward right off, and I have to make just the banner statement, right? It's just like, wow, a lot of high-level, accurate throws. That would be the thing I would say. Makes a lot of great off-platform throws or awkward feet throws, right? The feet are all cockeyed, but still, oh, wait, this guy, I thought he was going to be open. I set up the throw. Somebody flashed in front of my face. Now I got to throw it over there. So what? My feet are cockeyed. I can still find a way to get that done there. That's incredible. The off-platform throws, right? The ability to throw on the run is elite. He's always calm and cool. When he really wants to throw a rocket, he can find another gear in his arm that nobody in this draft class has, okay? He has an elite arm, an elite release, an elite variety of throws, elite feet and feel in the pocket. He's elite with RPOs, quick game, and screens. He's as good as you're going to see in that department. This kind of stuff, right? Fake it. Woo, get it out quick. Oh, there's a screen out in the edge. Gets the snap. Boom, throws it out there like that. Like, it's like, damn, how did he even grab it and throw it that quickly, right? Those are important things this day and age in the NFL. As good as you're going to see. Decision-making. Better than I thought, okay? We're going to dive into this a little deeper. But just a base level, better than I thought. And then 39 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. You're not making too many bad decisions with that stat line. There's some things I know stats don't say it all, and context matter. But for a gunslinger, decisions can't be that bad when it's 39-7, okay? And, like, the offense has to carry the team on an every week basis because we know that Miami defense wasn't very good last year. Fading away from pressure, right? You saw him do that. People kind of bearing down on him and him just like, oh, I'm just going to go backwards and then flick a ball 30 yards and drop it over a linebacker and a safety. It's as good as you'll see in that department. There's not. That's a gift that he has that only the special ones have. So he sees the field awesome. I love the kid. I'd take him number 1. He's the number 1 quarterback in the draft. He's the man. He's a franchise quarterback. And I think that's a big reason you haven't heard the Titans involved in any conversation with any veteran quarterback or anything, because I think they probably saw what I saw. They turned it on. They saw all the other quarterbacks, and they went, oh, damn, this guy's freaking good. We're going to take him at number 1. And that's the end of that story.
So you think the Titans are going to take Cam Ward?
I think so. I think he's too good to pass up. I wouldn't pass him up. And you know what's on top of that? You want to read the name I put on top of this? And I'm not going to take total credit here, right? I don't always write people he reminds me of.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of this just because of the way he's so strong in the pocket. But what's that name right there? Can you read that name?
Steve McNair.
Exactly. Where did he play?
Tennessee Titans.
Exactly right. There's a little of that. And I'll give my dad credit there. My dad was the one who was kind of, you've got, some McNair in him. And he does with the way he can hang in the pocket, break arm tackles, make people miss. His throwing motion's a little different, but he's still a big, strong guy who can make power throws down the football field, who looks to throw in the pocket, but when nothing's there, can get outside the pocket and make something happen, which we talk about as such a valuable thing right now in the NFL.
6'2", 220.
Yep.
He turns 23 in May, so on the older side, but I think we've gone past that.
We've gotten that,
as a
right?
culture.
Right.
Yeah, with Bo Nix and Michael Penix
Right.
and what they've done last year. In his senior year in high school, he played in the wing tee offense. Same offense as Ahmed
I
Fareed.
know. Well, damn, he knew that's where greatness was born.
Yeah, exactly. Was at Washington State and then goes over to Miami and really turns it around. Like you mentioned, 39 passing touchdowns, led all of football. 3 touchdowns in the first half of his bowl game, and then he came out after that. That caused a little bit of a controversy and hubbub, but he ended with 158 passing touchdowns, the most in FBS and FCS ever. And I think that's another part of it, too. You hear people talk about his character. He's brash. He's super competitive.
Yes.
He's a leader. And he, not single-handedly, because no one person can do that, but he had a huge part in making Miami the best they have been in a long, long time.
Yes. I mean, totally. I mean, he's the reason Miami was in the college football playoff conversation the whole year.
Yeah.
He was can't miss TV on a weekly basis. He was from the get-go, even though if you go back and watch Washington State, and again, it might have been a little more raw there, okay? It was still damn good, but still a reason where guys like Nick Saban were coming on College Game Day going, hey, Cam Ward can win the Heisman this year before the season started because, damn, you saw the talent. No doubt. So there he finally gets with the team, and it's a good system and a support group around him, and he gets to show what he can really do on a football field. And that's where it's special, right? His overall look is great. He's got a good, thick, athletic legs. He's strong as hell. I mean, he's strong as hell. Breaks a ton of tackles, keeps a great base in the pocket, right? Has good he's really kind of rare, okay? And that he'll bounce in place, right? Have can you picture that, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe we cut to the wide a little bit just so I don't make everybody seasick, right? But he will bounce and his feet will leave the ground. And then he'll just be boom, right? And yeah, Pete's in my ear going Peyton Manning. Yeah, Peyton was a little more choppy the feet, right?
Yeah.
Doing that. He will literally hop. And then as soon as he sees something, as soon as that foot hits, he'll just let it go. He doesn't always do it, but it's interesting, okay? His arm, he always keeps a correct arm angle. Okay, and what I mean with the arm angle is this. It never breaks. There's a 90-degree angle between his forearm and the bicep and all that. Great throwers don't let that break down, right? Tim Tebow's arm went like this. Guess what? He wasn't a great thrower, right? Great throwers are always here. Now, you could go sidearm, but that angle doesn't break, right? Now, his release is sidearm, and that's different in the NFL, but it's not different, okay? Yeah, so his traditional stroke, which is such a natural, easy stroke. Yeah, it's about as sidearm as you're going to see. But is it more sidearm than Michael Penix last year? No. And I don't really give a damn because I don't see balls being batted down. He finds lanes to throw it, and go ahead. What's the question off of that?
So you know who gives a damn a little bit is Lance Zierlein, who we'll quote on here, NFL.com.
Sure.
He looks at all these guys.
He does a great job with
Lance.
that. He does.
This is a quote from him. He goes, like a shortstop, he rips sidearm rockets that fit into tight windows in all 3 levels.
Yeah.
But his delivery and mechanics can cause inconsistencies with placement and accuracy. Did you see that?
I don't see that enough to where that bothers me. No. And the more I watched, the more I was just absolutely amazed with his accuracy and his ability to be consistent. It's one thing if the motion, it's the same motion every time when the pocket's the same. So that's the first thing. I'm always a fan of that, right? It'd be one thing where I'd go, wait, he throws this way, and then every now and then he just drops it sidearm for no reason. That's kind of weird, right? But I did not notice it affecting accuracy or anything. His throwing's elite. His quick game stuff is elite. right? And the ability of him being able to get it out so quickly, let alone, listen, if you look at most of the great quarterbacks in football right now, very few of them are throwing the ball over the top. Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, they would be 3 quarters at the best. I mean, Lamar Jackson, if he throws the ball 40 times in a game, I would say 30 of them end up being sidearm-ish, right? So it's about lanes, and he knows how to find the lanes and fit it through that way.
He's tall enough,
or he's tall enough to just kind of flick it over the top of everybody, and that's what he does. So, yeah, I don't have a problem in that department, man. I don't.
So it seems like he would fit in. You loved Caleb a lot last year.
Yep.
You loved Jaden a lot last year.
Right. He
just
fits in that.
He just a step behind what those guys were.
I think that, like, he's got a lot of Caleb Williams in him as far as a similar style of play, right? And if there was a weakness with either one, right, and with Cam, you see this, and it's not concerning to me, but Cam can get bored. If you saw my notes here and whatever, I've wrote, like, don't get bored probably 2 or 3 times at different spots. Because there are plays where you'll go, oh, damn, he looks over here to the left. The 5-yard out route was his first read, and it's open. And he just goes, nah, that's not that easy. That's not fun. That's just too easy, right? And he'll kind of look at it and pump it and then be like, wait, something cooler's coming. Something's coming over the middle, or I want to throw that. And there's that from time to time, but it's still rare. There's still long periods of games where I go, great read, great read, great read. And he can process reads and go through coverages, and he wants to play in the pocket, and he's got great feel in the pocket. He's very good at seeing the field and going through progressions. And then, of course, when he sees it, his mind and his arm can react almost instantaneously. And that's what I really love, right? So he knows where to go with the ball, and he sees the field well. Only gets in trouble, like I said, when he's too greedy, wants a sexier throw, right? That was the concern, not to cut you off. That was the concern coming in because he had 84 sacks in 2 seasons at Washington State. Is that going to carry over to Miami? And he had 22 last year. And so he did reduce the number of sacks, whether that was him or whether that was a little bit of the line, too. That's the difference I saw between Miami and Washington. Now, you're going to deal with some of this, okay? You got to deal with some sacks and some negative plays. He makes the right play almost always, like really does. But also, let's take into account, like if you watch the game with me, how many plays nothing is there, and he makes something happen because of all these things we don't like about him. Oh, he holds the ball too long. He does this. Sometimes it's warranted, and people aren't there. And so you don't want to totally wipe that away from him, just like we heard Ben Johnson talk about that with Caleb Williams. There's a lot of special that comes from those moments. He gets the team out of trouble so many times. You know, I put great value in there's nothing there to be had. The defense was perfect, and you still got a 30-yard completion. That's huge. He does that a lot. So you don't want to wipe that away completely, right? And that's where it'll just have to be confined. And to where I get to the point of where it's different from Washington State, where, yes, I think he was more cognizant of just, let me throw it away a little bit last year. Also, I think he was very good at when he got pressure, he knew where to go with the ball as a safe throw. Right? So it might not have been completion or whatever else, but, oh, wait, I got somebody coming. Here's a shallow cross. Let me just get it there by him somewhere, right? Or I know I could throw to that guy against this blitz, and at least my guy has a chance. And I did see improvements in that compared. That, to me, was an area of growth from Washington State. Now, Washington State wasn't very good, and I feel like at times he tried to just do too much there, right? And that's where he grew as a player too, where they were like, "Hey, you don't have to do it all. What you do is awesome enough.
Yeah.
Let's not go crazy." And I think he found a nice way to rein all that in this year.
You talked to him. Was at the Combine,
yes,
correct?
Right.
You like him as a guy?
I like him as a guy. He's a professional. He's a baller. You could tell he's all about his business. You really can.
This is what he said to you on where he's going to be taken in the draft or what he thinks about that. He goes, the pick doesn't mean anything. First round, 7th round, the only difference is the signing bonus. At the end of the day, you have to prove yourself every time you step onto the field. And he comes across as a guy who means that. He's not just trying to say the right thing. It's just like, this guy's a dog.
This wasn't easy for him to get here. Like, he wasn't given the red carpet like he was the #1 recruit in the country.
No.
I'm Arch Manning. Roll out the red carpet. Give me $5 million a year. I'm the man. We know that, right? I'm not trying to make fun of Arch Manning. I'm just saying he didn't come from that. So he's not taking anything for granted.
2 years at Incarnate Word before Washington State.
Exactly. Like, what the hell is that? I've never even heard of that, and I'm obsessed with football. They incarnate words into your life, I guess. I don't know what they do.
Right.
But yes, so he's got that type of attitude. And then you couple that, again, I'm not you couple the fact of the things I've heard with great leader, team is like rallies around him on like the third day he was at Miami, all of that.
But not afraid to hold people accountable.
Definitely, you could see that because he's just not going to take it. He wants to be great, all right? And you can kind of see that on the field too. He's got a great presence, right? I told you he wants to stay in the pocket. He never really wants to run, right? He's got great movement in the pocket. He's tough. He doesn't stare at the rush. Again, I love that about him. Mm-hmm. He really doesn't. I mean, one of his flaws is he might be too patient in the pocket, right? There's times where I'm like, dude, it's collapsing. Get out. But he just hangs in there and tries to find a way and throws a sidearm ball or whatever else, right? But he's very impressive that way. I don't know if there's anything else more that I'm missing.
That seems like it.
But he rarely misses a throw.
Uh-huh.
And like I told you, I thought he's pinpoint in the quick game. Right, he has great touch and feel as a thrower. The appropriate ball, the ability to flick, touch,
layer in.
Back shoulder, and then like I told you before, when he wants to step on the gas and when he wants to throw a laser. All right, I'm not going to say it's Caleb Williams or Josh Allen's arm, but it's just below that. It's a special arm. When he does it, you go, whoa! He threw a freaking rocket right there.
Best arm in the draft?
Yes, I don't think there's any doubt. It's the best arm in the draft. I know every now and then we have a guy that maybe is down the line, like you go, oh, he can't really play quarterback, but he's got a powerful arm or whatever. Yeah. There might be a guy down the road that we talk about here later on, but I still think he's got the best arm in the draft, no question.
So you already said it. You think he's too good for the Titans to pass up. When you're a team that's looking for that franchise quarterback, you never know when you're going to be in this spot again and be able to get a guy like this. They got to take him. Okay, say they do that and they take him number one. That's easy. They could also, if they're dead set on not doing that, it does open up the possibility that other teams would trade up for this spot because I think that was part of the concern coming in is there really anyone that anyone's going to fall in love with to the point where they are going to trade up to that number one pick, and you believe that they could? The Titans have some options here.
I think they have options. I think the fact that he is so number one and definitely a gap between the rest of the group that I think that's going to add to the value to trading up to that pick, right? And the fact that we're starting to hear things like, again, nothing about Tennessee even entertaining any of this stuff, and hearing little inklings up here that like the Giants' pursuit of the number one pick sounds like it's kind of fizzles out and dead. Those are little things that I would connect the dots through the tea leaves and stuff, go, they've called down there, right? The Titans have watched Cam Ward and they've done, he's freaking awesome. And you want to get up here, it's going to take a treasure chest to make that move. And I think that's why we've kind of heard crickets on that front as of right now. And I think we will continue to hear crickets because I think, first off, it could be Callahan's last year on the job. What's he going to do now? Who's going to be the quarterback now? I mean, you're gonna trade for Kirk Cousins, and ruin your team and maybe lose some assets. And I don't, is that what you're gonna do? Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to go there. You're gonna put all your eggs in the Russell Wilson basket for your last year of your career, maybe? No, I don't think so. I think that's more and more every day we go by. It looks like Cam Ward, Tennessee Titans,
in a tier by himself.
Yes,
is
sir.
That correct?
That is a tier by himself.
Tier
There's no
one
question.
Open, tier one closed. So we're going to take a commercial break and we're going to open up tier number 2. Do we have some surprises in this tier? We're going to answer that question when we come back. It's a national holiday, at least a holiday in this building, the Chris Simms quarterback rankings for the 2025 draft. We have opened and closed tier 1, Cam Ward.
Yeah, he's in a tier by himself.
Lonely in there. We got 2 quarterbacks in tier 2, though.
Yes, we do. But one clearly above the other one. I do want to state that. The first guy we're going to go with here, I do think he is, they're both in the same tier, but he's better for sure, and I do want to make sure that's stated. And
we've stated this before, too. Yeah. It's like oftentimes you look at things a little bit differently. The rest of the draft community out there has had Shedeur Sanders from Colorado, number 2. Maybe a few people had him number 1.
People think I'm going to go off the board right here and bring out somebody they don't even know or something, right? Is that what you're
number?
Guessing?
I'm setting the stage for this whole thing to be surprised. Your number 2 quarterback, first quarterback in tier number 2 for 2025 is
Shedeur Sanders.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. Shedeur Sanders. Yes, it is. Okay, I mean, what do you want to start with Shedeur Sanders? First off, great presence on the football field. Okay, that's like undeniable. He does have something about him when you turn on the film, when you watch on TV or whatever, that certainly seems to radiate through the rest of the football team. And I'm going to say I do believe in that with him in that area. And I do believe he's going to be able to be a starter in the NFL, and people are going to rally around him, the human being. I don't give a crap that some of the old school guys in the NFL don't like him because he's got a cool chain or he doesn't talk the same way as everybody else, whatever. He knows how to play quarterback. He knows sports. He knows how to lead. That's the first thing. He's got a strong arm. Not a wow arm, but a strong arm. But what I do like off of that is it doesn't take much effort to throw the fastball, okay? That's what I do like. You know me. He doesn't need a lot of space. It's not like he has to be like, throw it really hard. It comes out easy. It comes out effortless. So that's what I do like. He's very, very accurate. He very rarely loses control of the football, right? Almost always throws a spiral and sees the field really well. Okay? And within that, yes, I mean, makes a lot of good decisions. You don't see him make too many dicey decisions or bad decisions off of that. He is a true pocket passing quarterback. For 2025, he is a just above average athlete, I think, for the quarterback position, for what we see coming into the league now. But where he is special, and a little bit like Cam Ward, is he's absolutely fearless in the pocket. He's fearless. He was under pressure the whole year. He never blinks. He throws the ball with people bearing down on him, about to crush him in the chest, and he doesn't even flinch. And even though he's not a supreme athlete, he's very agile. He breaks a lot of arm tackles and makes people miss in the pocket. And let's not forget, Colorado's O-line and their pass protection stunk. He had the worst pass protection out of all the good quarterbacks in this draft. Let's just state that right there. So, yeah, with all of that, there's a lot of good there, and we'll continue to break him down. But, yeah, I look at Shedeur Sanders, and I certainly do think he is a first-round quarterback. I don't know if I'd want to take him at number 3 or number 6.
Okay, we'll get into that. Yeah, we'll get into that.
But he is a first-round quarterback. I'm just trying to kind of quiet the murmurs out there. And, yes, I do like him better than Jaxson Dart, 100%.
You might not be able to quiet him enough to save your franchise. So the arm strength, let's double down on that.
Let's double down
because people have said, I've heard people say it's a below average arm strength.
It's not below average. It's definitely not. The way he stands in there, he can throw 20-yard in cuts, 20-yard out routes with ease. He does. Now, where they might be getting into that a little bit, okay, and you see a lot of power throws. Now, here's a negative about him, and I think maybe this stems to it a little bit. He is not an aggressive enough decision maker for me. That would be a thing. You know me. Hey, there's a guy open 25 yards down the middle. Throw it in there. You're damn Shedeur Sanders. You can do it. You got an accurate, strong arm. Do it. There's a little too many of where I'd see a few throws every game, and I'd go, wait, you're too good to turn that down. Throw that. And then he kind of comes down and throws a check down, right? That was some things that I did not love about his game. I do think he can have a little bit more of an aggressive mindset to push the ball down the field and do that. He kind of plays the game of just like, hey, I'm going to get 5 here. I'm going to get 6 here. I'm going to get 5 here. I'm not going to take any chances until the game tells me I need to start pushing the ball a little bit. And like, there's some maturity to that, but there's also some, wait, this game is closer than it should be because you didn't take a few throws there, and now you guys are only up by a touchdown here in the third quarter, when if you hit a few of those throws, you might have been up by 2 or 3 scores, right? That would be one of my negatives about his game overall.
NFL.com says, quote, he's a slow twitch athlete with standard arm talent and a longer release, but he worked around those limitations with anticipation and accuracy.
Yeah, I had no problem. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think his release is long, okay? His release is a little different. He can get the ball out of his hand quickly. I mean, if you watch them, they threw a ton of screens in short game because they couldn't protect. Yeah. And he's very good at that. He can get it out there quick to where Travis Hunter can get it, have space, run, do something after the catch, right? But his motion is different than what we see from most quarterbacks this day and age, right? We're in a day and age, we sit here, we break down quarterbacks all the time, right? We always talk about throwing the ball. The arm comes around more. We see Mahomes, Josh Allen, Brady, it was more around. He's an over-the-top thrower. He's a little bit more old school. He's kind of sits there. He doesn't get a lot of shoulder turn or upper body movement. He just gets the ball up here, and he just kind of rips it down to his opposite pocket. A little different that way, but I can't deny the results. He puts the ball where he wants to. He throws it with authority. And the other thing I do like about that motion for him especially, because as we just talked about, he's not going to be a guy that's going to scramble out of the pocket a whole lot. He's a pocket quarterback. But he does, because of that motion, he can throw over the top of people. So you do see a lot of throws where guys bearing down on him, and it's like, whoa, it's collapsing, and he kind of just raises his arm up and takes the shot, but then, boom, hits Travis Hunter on a 20-yard crosser or whatever. So, I don't love that release, but I can't deny the results. And I would push back on the arm. The arm is, there's plenty of power throws to see to go, oh, damn, he can push the ball a little bit.
How about the critique with the sacks? You've already mentioned the worst offensive line of any quarterback out there. You could say the same thing about Caleb Williams last year. That USC offensive line 2 years ago was not very good at all.
Horrible.
Caleb's a little more athletic, right, than Shedeur Sanders. But what would you say to the criticism that, yes, while the offensive line was not good, some of that was him creating his own pressure and him holding onto the ball a little bit too long and him having some undisciplined drops?
Some of them, there's some of that.
Bad habits, maybe.
But you know, a lot of the times, like when I came away, when watching some of those plays, I was like, I got on them so quick, I don't know what you expect them to do. Or there was nowhere to throw the ball right away. Now, could he be a little bit better at times of just going, wait, this is pressure here. Here's a spot I know I can throw it. Maybe he doesn't catch it, whatever. I get it out of my hands. Okay, sure.
Because we saw with Caleb that some of those bad habits, while they may not have been his and were caused by a bad offensive line, did carry over to the NFL.
It carried over. And you worry about that, too, here with Shedeur. I get it. It's similar in that aspect. Now, again, too, with Shedeur and a lot of those things, too, you know, there's a ton of plays where, the pressure gets there. He kind of sidesteps somebody. The guy, he just sidesteps him enough to where the guy can only get his arm around it. He breaks it. Boom, throws the ball out into the flat or a 10-yard out route or whatever. And you go, damn, that was a good play, right? Now there's a few plays where, he tries to do that, and the guy brings him down, okay? I should have thrown that away. But I think you're going to take some of that, especially with a strong, in-the-pocket type quarterback. Right? He can make all the throws, but it's not a wow arm, like I said. And I do wish he changed arm angles a little bit more. That would be another thing, too. He can do it, but he doesn't do it a lot. But yes, as we've talked about and joked before, this is not – it's funny, he's Deion Sanders' son, and you don't expect this guy to be like turning the corner running for 40-yard gains in the NFL. That's not what he is. He's a little more old school in his approach. He wants to beat you in the pocket. He wants to make a quick, good decision with his mind, and he wants to make a good, accurate throw off of that, and he does that a lot. And like I said, I just wish he was a little bit more aggressive in his mind, in his approach. But I also got to take into account, too, of like the thing you just brought up. Hard to be aggressive and hold the ball when you're getting your head ripped off sometimes in certain games, like 8 of the first 10 throws of the game. It's hard to go, I'm going to sit in here and wait for guys to come open 5 seconds later down the field when you've had 2 seconds, 1.2 seconds to throw a football, right? That will affect that, and I think we got to take that into consideration as well.
At 26 tweeted at you with this comment, I hope you see things other people don't. Shedeur had 0 run games, still balled out.
Exactly
People
right.
don't understand that CU used their screen games as the actual run game. And so, I mean, of all the quarterbacks that we're going to talk about today, he didn't have a whole lot of guys around him that could help.
He had some receivers that can make some plays, right? And again, I think that's where it's a little like the Bo Nix bullshit from last year of like, I don't think he has a strong arm because they're seeing screens in short game and just going, this is a team. They're not just like, Shedeur's not like, I want to throw a screen. I want to throw a screen. They're like, no, hey, Shedeur, we got to throw a screen or you're going to get killed. Like, you're going to get killed. This is our best way to win, right? So that's where I think people need to take that into account. So some of that is because of the way they played, and our question there is exactly right. And I think some of that is getting used against him because a lot of his big plays and you can go watch a game and go, man, he threw for 270 in this game, and go, wow, like 4 out of the 5 biggest completions of the game were actually like screens or a throw under 5 yards where the guys made great plays and ran after the catch. So I get that. and I understand that, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have a strong arm. And there's still plenty of plays and throws you see where he makes the right throw, and he can make the right throw down the football field and do it with ease. So I don't have any questions in that department.
So it wasn't that long ago, 3 months ago, he was the favorite to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft, and now he is plus 2,500 to be the number 1 pick. And, part of that is you talked to him at the draft, or was it the Super
combine?
Bowl? At the combine.
Yeah, right.
And there are reports that came out of the combine. Some coaches did not like his attitude. This is what he said to you about him believing he's the best quarterback in the draft.
Yeah.
He goes, I've changed 2 different programs, 2 different universities. If you're picking at the top of the draft, something's wrong. You need someone who can adjust and turn it around. I've done it. I've proved it. So when we start talking about Shedeur as a leader, guys who can rally around him, he's certainly done that. But you're going to have the questions of, is it too much? Is it too arrogant? Is it too brash? Is it going to be a detriment to him with the ego and his father and all that? That's almost 2 different questions right there.
That it is. But I don't think
him, the person, as not arrogant, but just confident,
being being what, a superstar quarterback type attitude. I mean, that's what they all have. I mean, don't draft me or you're in deep shit. I'm going to kill you every year.
In your interactions with him, you saw no problem with a guy who's going a little too far.
I don't, because I don't see anything that goes too far. First off, I think we have to take together the life here of what the guy's had a spotlight on him his whole life. Yeah. He's handled it pretty damn well. Anybody I talk to, as far as been around him in the football element or world, they seem to like him and tell me he's a great leader. He's got feel that way. He certainly seems cool and calm under pressure in any part of the game that I watch, right? I think he has that ability, right? Just like we saw at Colorado. Oh, hey, Shedeur Sanders is our quarterback. We got a chance here. I think he's that. Now, he's not going to it's not going to be, wow, I'm going to carry the team on my back. Right? I have a line here. He's not in the same stratosphere as Cam Ward on wow throws or high-level downfield throws, okay? So there's that aspect. This is a guy that I think if you have an offense that's got a little system to it, he will learn that system and he will pick you apart that way, right? Now, again, I wish he would be a little less dinky and dunky and be aggressive down the field, but that can be coachable, and I think he has that in him. So, yeah, with all of that and all of that said, I don't have issues there. Now, the other aspect is the dad, and the dad is going to scare people. Now, should he? No. He won't scare really confident coaches who know they're really good.
But
right?
anyone at the top of the draft is not super confident.
No, they're all a little worried about their job status overall. Yeah. And, yes, I think in general, as we know, NFL teams are distractions, circus-type atmosphere, more media people here, having to talk about who's our quarterback and what's our rookie going to be all the time. Hey, Deion said this about your team the other day. Deion said this about Shedeur as far as how he thinks he's playing on your team, right? So those are things that are going to scare teams.
And
There's no doubt about that.
He would love the coach's son.
Right. So that's not going to be loved, too, by that coach who's like, wait, I could be fired after next year. And Deion and I have Shedeur Sanders. That might not be good, right? So, yeah, I think those things hurt him. I think the other things, again, I think I like what I see on the field. Now, again, would I want to take him at 3? Would I want to take him at 6?
So that's the other question, the value.
I don't think so. And I think that's why you saw Tom Brady and the Raiders trade for Geno Smith at 6, because they went, wait, I don't want to take the quarterback at 6 this year. I don't. I would probably feel more comfortable, yes, later on in the first round. 20s and on, somewhere in there. That's kind of where I would want to, okay? But it's the quarterback position. If you need one, we know you're desperate. Sometimes you overdraft and you do things like that. But, hey, you talk about Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett was drafted at 20, right? I'd take Shedeur Sanders over Kenny Pickett every day of the week. And a bunch of some other quarterbacks that have been drafted maybe mid or late second or late first round.
The Browns have the number 2 pick, and they do have Kenny Pickett now.
I know, and I don't imagine them going the Shedeur Sanders route. I don't, and I think that's why you're hearing them also talking about Russell Wilson, because I don't think they want to do that. But we'll see where this goes. Or is there a team that's at the top of the second that tries to get back in, right? and get him somewhere in the 20s or something like that. But that's kind of how I envision it. I might not be right about that. And, of course, like we talked about with quarterbacks, it's always hard to tell because they can be overvalued because there's only a few of them that are legitimate NFL starters that are out there.
Yeah, HS Bolsh says to you, do you think teams like the Raiders with Geno and the Jets with Fields tell us that there won't be a quarterback taken outside the top 3 in the first round? It seems like the teams farther down that needed a quarterback are choosing the veteran quarterback outside of.
That's been the theme. That's one of the things I tried to say last week was the theme of the start of free agency, is that I felt like the league was telling you, other than the Tennessee Titans with Cam Ward, we don't love these quarterbacks. We need to address our situation right now. Teams like the Jets, just because they paid Justin Fields a contract that I would go, if they draft a quarterback, I can understand that. They're not paying this guy like Kirk Cousins $50 million a year money, right? Where we knew that was crazy when they drafted Michael Penix, because you're like, what? They are paying Justin Fields money in which you'd go, no, that could still justify a rookie quarterback on a rookie salary cap, right? That 100%. And yeah, so it's, and again too, is it one of those things where one of these teams that needs a quarterback that might be in the top 10 or 15, they try to get up late in the first round and get back in, or do they just go, hey, we're not going to risk it and we're going to take a quarterback right here and go with it, and Shedeur will come off the screen? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that's evaluated by the NFL.
Anastasia 026 says, should the Giants take a quarterback because they need one, or should they take the best available player? Simms, I'm so stressed out about what they will do. So this is a Giants fans here. Pete says,
the quarterback situation is scary for us New York Giants fans right now.
Think about the Giants, number 3 pick, and then you're the 3rd pick of the 2nd round then too, I guess. You could take Abdul Carter, maybe a Travis Hunter there at number 3. And then we'll get to your other quarterbacks that you also like, that you said there will be several taken, maybe 2nd round, 3rd round, top of the 2nd round, take another guy. It sounds like you would rather that route, maybe.
I would rather that route. Specifically for the Giants.
Yes.
I don't want Shedeur at 3. That's what I would say. But I wouldn't mind if Shedeur was the quarterback of the Giants. In my perfect world, as a Giant fan, I'd go, can we trade down and maybe get another 2 first-round picks and then maybe take him down there more? That would be cool. And we get to build the team and maybe get him another receiver or something like that. Yeah, I'd be in favor of that. I would. But the quarterback situation, the pass rush situation, is going to dictate a lot, I think, in the first 10, 15 picks of this draft.
Bottom line, though, you like him. And Pro Football Focus had this to say about him, which I think is cool. Well, if you didn't know his last name, you'd still recognize that Shedeur has NFL bloodlines, or at least that he's been around high-level football minds.
Definitely.
And so you turn on the tape, throw away everything, combine, his meetings with coaches, got Dion as head coach. That's a good football quarterback that you think can be a starter in this league for a long time?
I think he could be a starter in the NFL, 100%. It's not going to be like highlight show, I'm going to do Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, stuff like that.
Would he ever crack the Simms top 10?
Yeah, he could possibly do that. He could. There's no doubt. He's more... I've said Doug Williams in the past, like old school 80s Washington Redskins quarterback, right? That of that lines. But, the guys that he's in the quarterback that are similar to him maybe right now in the NFL, right? A Geno Smith in reality, going to stand in the pocket, make big throws, can make people miss in the pocket, right? Hey, he's got better attributes than Kirk Cousins physically that he did when he was coming out. There's no question about that. There's some other guys here that I'm probably missing or not, going. But, he's going to play the game of I'm going to be in the pocket. I'm going to get the ball out. I'm going to be, maybe Joe Burrow-ish in style of play, right? Just make one good decision, one good accurate throw after another. I think there's a reason Tom Brady is his idol, because I think he wants to play that style of football. But the only thing I would say to him is Tom in his prime was a little bit more of an aggressive decision maker, Shedeur, and that's where he could up his game a little bit.
We do have some video of Shedeur. Is this when we had him on NBC when they played Nebraska? I don't know. We finished with just showing some video, because if we can show it, we might as well show it.
Yeah.
Pete, do we have that video back there?
I hope so. The one thing that's hard to see about his game, too, because the protection wasn't good, is, right, you don't get to see a ton always, and he throws the ball well on the run. This is one of the plays of the year right here. I mean, throwing out here, last play of the game, puts it in a spot where his guy can get it to send the game in overtime. That was special, right? There again, you see the over-the-top motion. He's got a nice touch to throw the football there, right? And there's plenty. Like that's what I like. Now that's not a rifle, but see how he just in the pocket slides. Somebody was about to hit him and he pushed him by and then still threw the football. He's not at all flabbergasted by throwing the ball under pressure in tight quarters, and that's what I think he's a cool customer, and he's going to dice some people up in the pocket in the NFL. Like I said, I just don't want to take him in like the top 5 or top 10.
Yeah.
You get towards the like 17, 18 and down in the first round. Yeah, that's where I'd want to take him.
You like him. He's your number 2 quarterback
Yes,
in this
sir.
draft class, but he is not in a tier by himself. He shares that with one other
Yes, he does.
quarterback who you like a lot as well.
Yeah.
Your number 3 quarterback.
My
this
number
year
3
is
quarterback guy, and I don't even know if I really believe that he is a first rounder all the way. This would be edge of the first round. Really, in my perfect world, I'd go, I think he's a second rounder, really. But this is Jaxson Dart, Ole Miss, as we know. Jaxson Dart, I mean, the guy can play. He's got a ton of reps. He knows how to play the position. You're going to see a lot of him as far as natural, smooth thrower, effortless in the pocket that way, right? He is another guy, which is I love about this draft, wants to stand there and play in the pocket, right? Stand in there and make big throws. Now, his arm is not as strong as the other guys we just talked about. Now, it's obviously not as strong as Cam Ward's, which I've told you is special. It's also not as strong as Shedeur. And within that, too, there's more effort and space needed to throw the ball hard. And that's why he would be number 3. And I think on top of that, too, would be he is a below the average athlete for 2025. Shedeur Sanders, I'm not saying he's a great athlete, right? But I told you, he breaks tackles. He extends plays a little bit more than you realize when you start to break him down. And he does scramble more. Jaxson Dart, there's not a lot of that. It's totally going to be in the pocket type play. Get the ball out of your hand, do that, right? So that's the big thing with Jaxson Dart overall, right? I think the number one thing I love about his game is the amount of high-level 15 and 20-yard throws he makes, okay? Out of the guys we've talked so far, it's the slowest delivery, it's the longest delivery, and I would say he was probably the worst deep ball thrower of the group as well, right? But still, a lot of good, and a guy that you wish just some of the physical attributes were a hair better, and I think it would be a slam dunk first rounder. And I wonder where he goes, but I do like the way he plays, and I certainly could see him being a starting quarterback in the NFL one day.
He grew up in Utah, just 21 years old, turns 22 in May, was a 2-time All-State third baseman in baseball, so some athleticism to play a multi-sport athlete. His senior year in high school, giant year, 67 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions. Now, I don't know what Utah high school football was like that year, but that's still pretty darn impressive.
Sounds suspect.
Yeah, was at USC. Started 6 games as a freshman, so highly touted, even just coming out of high school. Lincoln Riley then brought in Caleb Williams, so that's tough competition. But we have his year-by-year chart there at Ole Miss, because here's a guy who's a multi-year starter in the SEC.
Yep.
Something to be said about that.
Yep.
You see what he did this past year. Yards per pass attempt was the best of his career, and not a whole lot of interceptions, including that last year, 29 touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
No, I think that's going to be the value of Jaxson Dart, is you're going to go, damn, it's 3 years of a lot of playing against high-quality football. He knows how to play the position. He knows where hots are, right? He knows where to throw the ball away, okay? He knows a little bit situational football because he's played so much, right? I talked about his ability and his confidence, his arm and intermediate throws, I think is really impressive. He does have a variety of arm angles. He's got pretty good feet in the pocket, right? I mean, to hop around, readjust when he's got a little pressure. That was something I probably should have said more about Cam Ward, because his feet were so special in that department. But Jaxson is good at that, because Jackson's not going to scramble a lot. He's not going to get out of the pocket a whole lot and make things happen there. So he's going to need to be an elite mover within the pocket in his career. And he is pretty damn good in that. But like I said, he's a lesser athlete running the ball than what we see for 2025 football. He can get the ball out of his hand pretty quickly when he needs to on slants and short game, but again, it's not as good as Cam or Shedeur Sanders, right? I like his arm mechanics, other than like what was I going to say? Sorry. I like his arm mechanics, but when he looks for more, his arm does get elongated. When he wants to throw the ball down the field, he wants to make a power 20-yard out route or whatever, the ball goes behind him more and becomes more of a, I need some space to throw the football, where the other guys can just go, and throw it. His becomes all of a sudden a little bit of a wind-up. there are a lot of throws down the field where you go, oh, man, like that, he was open. You can't miss that. You can't underthrow it. You can't make a jump ball, right? Those were some of the negatives, certainly. But as a whole, he's pretty tough. He's a good decision maker, and the processing in the pocket is something you get to see a lot. And again, that's where I think NFL people are going to like him. That's going to be the thing that's going to be close between him and Shedeur, is because Shedeur, because the protection was so bad, and I think he got flawed by that, you could go through a game and only see 3 or 4 plays where you go, oh, he went 1, 2 to 3, right? Because everything is either like, oh, Travis Hunter's one-on-one, boom, or this guy's open, boom, or it's, oh, I wanted to throw it down the middle, I didn't quite love it, so I just came underneath and got the check down, right? Jaxson Dart, you get to see a lot every game of him going through progressions and making the right read, and I think those are things that the NFL people will like, again, because they're going to go, he could play the position, he knows what he's looking at, he's reading coverages the right way.
You do, obviously, one of the things you do well is separating the quarterback from the scheme and the situation around him. He did have 1,500 rushing yards in 3 seasons at Ole Miss, probably a function of what they did offensively or tried to do.
Yeah, right.
PFF said this, much of his success at Ole Miss felt scheme dependent. And then we have Jendi from the UK who sent this in to you, had a similar question. Big fan from the UK, question on quarterback prospects who come from some version of the Art Briles veer and shoot offense that operates almost exclusively out of wide splits and simple reads. Will quarterbacks from that scheme inherently struggle in the NFL, or is this similar to the air raid where there just hadn't been any legit first-round talents from that scheme until the emergence of guys like Goff, Baker, Mahomes, etc.? Jendi, thanks for writing that in. That's almost like one of those notes you see when someone's apologizing.
No,
for something.
That was in depth. That really was. I think it's a little bit more of the case of just we haven't had the right guys there yet and all of that, right? I think it's a little bit more of that. It's a good offense, obviously. They've had good talent there. There's definitely, a few plays and throws every game where you're just like, oh, shit, Lane Kiffin just dialed up the right play. That guy's wide open down the middle. Touchdown, okay? A lot of good throws, let me just say, but very few wow throws. That would be the other thing, too. There was more wow throws for me for Shedeur when I went, oh, wow, he threw a rifle in there with people around him, blah, blah, blah.
Did you expect to see more from Jaxson? Because you did like him at the Combine, the way he threw.
His Combine, he was really good. I feel like, I think the Combine made me hopeful, but the film confirmed what I thought, I think, watching him on TV the last 2 years, right? When I had people asking me even like a few months ago, what do you think of Jaxson Dart? I was like, I like him, but I never was like, oh, wow, I'm watching something special here, right? That was never my feel as watching him on a Saturday. And again, a lot of good stuff, certainly. But yeah, I think the arm had a little more power than I thought, right? Does not use the legs enough to get out of the pocket or on power throws, right? Will throw the ball flat-footed and not pop the legs underneath him too much, and that is why too many deep balls and power throws fall flat of the target, right? There's just a little bit of like, he just stands there and he tries to do it with his upper body and his arm, and you go, man, that ball needed 5 more yards or it needed 2 or 3 more miles per hour, and that would have been beautiful, but it didn't get that. Right, he pops his legs on some of those intermediate throws that I was just talking about, and he's usually pinpoint with all of that. I do like his touch. He can flick the ball. I talked about his mid-range throwing ability, a loose, flexible arm. Right, he throws it pretty well on the run, but on the run is not going to be his game. He's definitely the worst at getting out of trouble for the people we just talked about. Right, he can run from 5 to 10 from time to time, but he's not going to make people miss in the pocket. Good player, good arm, not great, has played a lot of football. Not sure there is one wow trait, right? In last year's class, he'd be 6 or 7, certainly, right? And I just wrote he's not in the same class as Cam Ward again.
So we have a chart that shows his mock draft stock as it's gone through the months here. He was outside the top 100 back in December. You can see it has slowly risen here. Now he is solidly end of first, early second round.
To me, it's like, who are guys that were drafted at the top of the second? Will Levis, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Derek Carr.
Right, Derek Carr, right. Guys, again, there's something missing. Right? We like him, but it's something missing. Will Levis, we like all the physical traits and his muscles and the arm power, but there's some throws that aren't quite there. Jimmy Garoppolo, he makes a lot of good decisions and throws the ball accurately, but there's never a real pop on the ball to make an explosive throw, right? Derek Carr, it was a little bit more of those lines like, hey, he's good, he does a lot of things, but is there a special trait about his game? And I think that's where we are, and that's kind of where I envision it. And I think it's risen because of the things you've talked with, two things we've talked about. One, all your stuff you said about Shedeur Sanders and people being scared, Shedeur, Deion, all that.
Yeah.
And then two, because of lack of good quarterbacks, I think people, or top-end quarterbacks, people are going, hey, at least this guy's got NFL size. He played against NFL quality competition, and you get to see him play NFL style of football game after game after game within the pocket. And I think that's going to make some evaluators feel warm and cozy.
He seems a kind of guy who would be destined to be in the Simms 20-ish ranks in your top 40 quarterback countdown.
Yeah, I mean,
because that's where Jimmy Garoppolo lived a lot. And,
right.
It kind of seems
could
like
be in that. Could be in that range.
What's his ceiling? What's his ceiling?
His ceiling is that he really becomes like an elite decision maker, elite accuracy, and just always knows where to go with the ball. Like a Kirk Cousins would be like what I would say.
Okay.
Of that nature. Might never be better than like the 8th or 9th quarterback in football,
Okay.
right?
But that's still
you
something.
can damn win. And if you got a good team, you can go to the Super Bowl with that. Right? But yes, I don't think there's one attribute about his game where you're just going to go, if me and you sat down and broke him down, you'd go, oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. But you never would go, holy, I can't get over how awesome he is at this, right? There's not that. And that's what's missing.
I don't know if this helps or hurts his ranking depending on your love of Star Wars, but he is a Star Wars fan.
I know, I've heard.
Apparently, he has talked about that. And so here is Jaxson Dart talking about his love of all things Star Wars, I guess.
Possibly the most important question of the week. Anakin Skywalker?
I knew you were
See, I didn't know exactly where that
Really?
was going.
I thought he was
You
going
seemed pretty
there.
serious before you asked me that, so I didn't know where we were going.
He's the bad guy. He's the bad guy.
There we go. Look, I've been a Star Wars fan ever since I can remember. And early on, Anakin was my favorite character. So me being able to pay a little bit of tribute to that was a lot of fun, and just kind of show your love and just be a kid out there a little bit.
You know how it ended for him, right?
Yeah. That's not how it's going to end.
You're
He's
gonna
already
run
in the
better
universe for
ending.
a while. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, for a little while, he had a great run. Now you can't run things forever.
That's good. You hear him say, he's like, that's how it's going to end for me, bald and with a scar on his head. That's going to be devastating.
It's funny. He's got a great personality.
Seemed like it.
Right, he does. He definitely has quarterback aura and a charismatic way that you certainly think he could lead a locker room. And the fact that he was at USC, Ole Miss, right? You certainly don't hear anything bad about him that way. I would be shocked if anything bad came out about him. I like him a lot. He can be an NFL starting quarterback, right? Just not sure how good, how great. I hope he is great. I hope he proves me wrong. And yeah, ultimately, I think that's like kind of what I said. End of the first round, start of the second, really. But is there a team that gets a little antsy at the end of the first and tries to trade up and get him? I don't know. That's going to be interesting to see. But I really think he will be at the top of the first round on day two, top of the second round, day two.
And a great football name too, Jaxson Dart.
Right.
But he told you his little brother even has a better one, Diesel Dart. He goes, I'm a little jealous of that one. That should have been my name.
That's pretty strong. Those parents, they're outside the box thinkers on the names there. That's for sure.
Diesel Dart's first rounder. That's a first round name, right?
Diesel Dart. Can he be a run? He can't be a quarterback. He might have to be
point.
something else.
That's a good point.
I don't know. He's got to be a running back. It sounds like he's got to be something that is like a physical type of player.
Yeah, or just a truck driver. Maybe not football's not his thing.
Yeah.
All right, so that closes the book on Tier 2. We got to take a break when we come back. The rest of your top 5, Tier 3, honorable mentions. We're going to talk about a lot of dudes when we come back.
Jaxson Dart.
Keep it on track. Jaxson Dart.
Nice to meet
in
you.
the house, Jaxson.
You can just tell a guy from California sometimes.
I'm from Utah.
Oh, damn. I just blew that up. I didn't even know.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what happens when you don't do your research.
Yeah.
I just thought, man, USC, he looks like a California
looked like
guy.
it.
He's got to be a California guy.
That's when you go, I wasn't talking about you. You just say, I was that guy back there. It's a friend of mine.
Do you know how many people I used to get that from? Even at Texas.
Oh.
And they'd be like, are you from California? And I'd be like, my last name is Simms. My dad was the quarterback of the Giants. Oh, yeah, duh. Oh, I forgot.
You had a little more hair, and it was blonde.
I had
blonde
going,
hair.
Right. Blonde hair, yes, with any sort of tan or whatever. People think you're from California.
You smoke a little bit. You got that attitude, and that might contribute to it as well.
You're right.
Our next quarterback is from the great state of New Jersey. As we open up Tier 3, this one may be a little bit of a surprise. So this one's one of the quarterbacks that you're higher on than other people out there.
I think so.
Your number 4 quarterback is?
Kyle McCord from Syracuse. Again, there's a lot to like with Kyle McCord. Again, I would tell you that I think he got a raw deal at Ohio State. That would be the first thing I would tell you, okay? That play was good enough there that where they could have kept him. And let me just say, I think his play that year, it was better than Will Howard's play this year that won the national championship. Okay, so we got rid of a guy who played better than the guy that we just saw win the national championship. I just want to state that. I had to say it. I'm sorry. Got a good-looking body, okay? That's the first thing. One of my favorite bodies of the whole group. That's what I would say.
In what
not
way?
Just athletic, strong-looking, right? It's not like it's ripped or too muscular like Will Levis. It's just the right blend of things. Now, he's not a crazy, awesome athlete, right? Another guy that I would say is, about average or maybe just barely above average for the modern-day quarterback and where we are right now. But his mechanics are flawless, all right? That's the first thing. Maybe a little robotical at time, right? As far as you're not going to see sidearm and let me adjust my arm angle. It's usually the same kind of throwing motion, throw after throw after throw, right? I do wish his release was a little bit faster, but he can let it rip. In fact, I think he can let it rip just about as good as anybody in this draft other than Cam Ward. I would say he makes the most power wow throws in the draft other than Cam Ward.
He might have the strongest arm. Is he the guy you were alluding to?
He's up there, and Jalen Milroe was the other guy that I would have thrown in that conversation, right? Now, he might not control it, but he might go, whoa, that was pretty impressive, right? Impressive. He can let it rip, and when he lets it rip, he can really control it. Throws great spirals, can really spin it, can make case, right, still early. And this is right. His arm is only second to Cam Ward, right? And I'm about 5 or 6 quarterbacks in when I'm writing this down. I talked about the release being deliberate, right? It's not as quick as Cam, Shedeur, or Jaxson Dart. He's a really aggressive decision maker, right? Decision maker like a Cam Ward. Great confidence in his accuracy in the power throws down the field, right? Gives the down the field throws every chance to succeed in the pocket to get open to make the throw. Now, that's a good thing and a bad thing. And if you want to get into the negatives because of that, hey, there's definitely 3 or 4 throws every game where you just go, hey, you can't fit that in there. Don't do that, right? That's his kryptonite. There's never a throw he doesn't see where he goes, I can get it in there. I can do it. Now, the encouraging thing is if you go from Ohio State and you watch the progression of the Syracuse season, you see it less and less and less. And especially after that 5-interception game he had against Pitt where I think he had 3 pick sixes, right? Yeah. That scarred him and changed him forever, right? I noticed a difference in his game where he was like the next week, I can't remember who they played, where he was like, I want to throw that, but I remember those 5 interceptions I threw last week. Let me learn from that and throw it somewhere else, right? And I do like that. Right, but those are, I guess, the baseline start of what I would want to say about Kyle McCord is that his throwing in the pocket, and especially his power throwing, is pretty damn elite. And there's some things that he can get better at, certainly, but there's a lot to like with Kyle McCord in his game overall.
He has his Syracuse Pro Day today, so maybe we'll see how he lights it up there.
He needs to light it up because the Pro Day was too conservative.
Okay.
The combine. Too conservative, didn't show his arm strength, was one of those guys you've heard me say before, worried about the completion percentage, where I'm just going, nobody gives a shit. Throw the laser.
You hope he lets it fly
today. I hope he lets it fly today. I want to see that, definitely.
So came out of high school, 5-star recruit.
Yep.
Was a high school teammate with Marvin Harrison. Backed up C.J. Stroud over at Ohio State for a couple years. Won the starter job, as you mentioned, in 2023. But then Ryan Day basically said, you ain't going to be the guy this year, and so you might want to go find some other opportunities. And he did, and he set a school record at Syracuse with 29 touchdown passes. So I do like a little bit of the quarterback adversity, those that have faced that already. Right. And now he's got it, and it's like you've built up that callus and you've been scarred a little bit.
Right. Like you're going to have to face that in the NFL,
100%.
right? I mean, almost anybody. I mean, you wouldn't have thought Caleb Williams was going to have to face it, but guess what? He's getting calloused and scarred right in front of us this year, right? I mean, it's part of the game. So there is some positives about that, definitely. And I don't think he got a fair shake at Ohio State. And I would say if he was at Ohio State this year, they would have been better, and they would have won the national championship even easier. Okay?
Would they have beaten Michigan?
Yeah, I
That's
would
the big
say
thing.
I would say yes.
Now you got
there you
Buckeye-
go.
now you got
I got them
Buckeye
all.
fans.
I got them all riled up.
Now you got
all
him
right?
regretting everything. Yeah.
But there are things, okay? He doesn't make Will Howard runs better, right? And that's one thing with him that you see here. You go, hey, I love the mechanics. He keeps a great base in the pocket always. That leads to the consistent throwing motion and his feet and legs being underneath him to throw power footballs all the time, right? But he makes the least amount of plays with legs inside or outside the pocket. As the year goes on, he gets a little bit better, and he can run a little bit, right? He's faster than Jaxson Dart. I think he's even maybe faster than Shedeur in a pure-out sprint, right? But not as elusive as Shedeur is. Shedeur's great side-to-side movement and agility to make people miss in the pocket that way, right? Not too many different arm angles. I wish there was a little bit better than that, but he is a machine throwing the football. And you know, as far as hitting the target or making the most explosive plays with his arms, again, like I said, it's him or Cam. Needs to move more. Too much flat-footed in the pocket. Throws it really well on the run. You know, and then the other thing I like about it too, he knows where his problems are. Again, another guy like a Jaxson Dart, Shedeur, we saw that from Cam Ward, where they're not surprised by the blitz. They know where to get the ball out of the hand, where the quick throw is, the hot throw. So definitely coached up in that department. You could tell they know defenses and see blitzes. They're not just like, oh, gosh, somebody's here. Let me try to get it out of my hand real quick. So like that aspect about him. I think he's getting better in front of our eyes. He's not a finished product by any stretch of the imagination. It's only 2 years playing, right? But his high end is up there with the best guys in this draft that way. And so that's what I like it. And you know I put a little more stock into that, right? There's just too many throws where I sit there and go, damn, I didn't see the other guys to make that throw right there, and he did. Again, Cam Ward would be the only one that is better than him in, whoa, what a 25-yard throw. Whoa, what a 30-yard throw. Whoa, what a 50-yard post down the middle, right? That's where I would give this kid, you know, some major props. But he's not as dynamic. He's not as slick with the football. His release is a little slower than all the guys we've talked about so far. And the decision-making can be a hair too aggressive at times. And those are the things that you got to kind of work with him as we go forward.
Pro Football Focus agrees with you, says McCord isn't for the faint of heart. He led the Power Four in both big-time throws and turnover-worthy plays in 2024. So some of that decision-making, maybe it got better as the year went on.
It did,
and
but
got
it's
scarred,
still there. Yep, it is there. It's just, and you know, it's one of those that we talk a lot about this guy or this, you know, hey, stays on the first read too much, right? A little bit too long sometimes, or you're like, hey, come on, get off it. Go to the next one. Right, so that's something that he's going to have to get better at. But again, like you said, and like I said, you saw that later in the year. Makes a lot of good, quick decisions, quick, decisive decisions. Right, can put some heat on the ball. Allows receivers the chance to maximize their yak. That would be the other thing that really jumped to me. You know, 7-8 yard completions, rifles over the middle that get there in a hurry to where the guy can snatch it down and run instead of, you know, hey, there might have been some Jaxson Dart throws where I'd go, hey, this guy's on the out route 20 yards and he just throws it nice out there. Okay, the guy catches it and gets pushed out of bounds. And I go, there goes Kyle McCord. He throws it. The guy has enough time to, oh, wait, I can stop myself from going out of bounds and now make a move and get yards after the catch, right? There's value in that. And those are things sometimes we don't look at. Right? There'll be a guy we're going to talk about in a second where I go, man, that 20-yard out route that I just saw Kyle McCord hit like a machine, boom, boom, boom. This guy sometimes tries to float it out there and it doesn't get completed because he lets the DB back into it to knock it down. Or they push the receiver out of bounds just as he catches it, right? Where I go, again, those are yards left on the field that sometimes evaluators don't look at. And those are the things I liked about what he does.
Who would you NFL comp Kyle McCord to? Guys from the past?
I know.
Is there anyone that just pops to mind when his style, his deficiencies? You
know, I mean, his style, for some reason, and it's not of this level, is Jay Cutler. Okay? It's not as strong as Jay Cutler, but he stands in the pocket, flat-footed on the ground, and tries to make power throws. And I don't know, he wears number 6, so maybe that's why that's in my brain. But that was the name that popped to me, right? And maybe I need to try to come up with a more of a modern-day right now guy that would be in that, you know, type of conversation there.
I believe NFL.com compared him to Mitch Trubisky as an NFL player.
Okay. I mean, I could see that. I think he's actually a more high-level thrower than even Mitch was coming out. Mitch was a good athlete, so we can't forget about that. And Mitch's arm was strong, but I don't think he could control the football the way this kid can. That's where I would give this kid an advantage over Mitch Trubisky in that department. But Mitch Trubisky, let's not forget, he was a damn good athlete when he was coming out of UNC.
He was.
Yeah.
All right, so your number 4 quarterback, Syracuse guy, broke records over there from my alma mater, Kyle McCord. In the same tier number 3, your number 5 quarterback. We're going alma mater to alma mater at this desk.
You know it. We're going Quinn Ewers, University of Texas. I mean, Quinn's arm is gifted. Quinn has, of course, great experience, big-time college football. He can make every throw in the world. He's got a beautiful motion. He's got great touch. There's only one thing you're going to look at him in his game. He was beat up this year, and I do think that hurt him a little bit. But is authority on the football. That's the big thing that you've heard me say it about Quinn Ewers, and that's the thing I want more from him going forward. Just as I just alluded to when I was talking about Kyle McCord. There's just a throw or two every game where you're just like, why? What? He was wide open. Just drive the ball and hit him on the chest. Why did we try to anticipate it and drop it in a bucket when nobody was around him? There was no reason to do that, right? So that would be the negative with him, but the positives are, you talk a smooth stroke, right? Effortless thrower you will ever see, and sometimes that's a detriment because he doesn't get his body into it because his arm is so gifted and flexible. He can just whip it out there. Extremely flexible arm allows him to get power without even ever getting his body into it. With all that, he throws the changeup too much. The touch ball, the anticipation throw. He has more power in his arm. He leaves yards on the field every game because the ball hangs in the air. And he doesn't let yak happen at times because he decides to throw that, and now he gets tackled as he catches it instead of going, no, throw the 100-mile-per-hour fastball, and now this guy, Isaiah Bond or Golden, can take off and go somewhere, right? Those are the things you don't love. But why I make him 5 and maybe some other guys that are more consistent with other things that are behind him is I go, because I see potential here. I see other plays that open my eyes. I see some throws that I go, I don't see any of the guys that are behind him making throws like that. You talk about off-platform, sidearm throws, fading away, dropping the ball. He's got every club in the bag as far as that's concerned. He's as far as being slick with the ball, fading away, dropping the ball over a linebacker as he's only Cam Ward, I would say, is more slick than he is. Think about Quinn Ewers. You watch him; he wheels and deals everywhere, right? That's what he does. It's always that. In fact, the times where you're just like, would you just stand in there and push off your back leg and throw it hard, please? Right? But you see it. You just want to see it more. And I think this is going to be one of those things that when he gets in the NFL, he's going to realize, you go, oh, if I want to make it here, I got to start throwing the 97-mile-per-hour fastball more. I can't keep throwing the 85, 82-mile-per-hour changeup.
He has that ability.
He does have it. Big time has it. That's why he became famous.
Yeah.
He became famous because my son was showing me, hey, look at this kid on TikTok. He throws lasers, Dad. And my son might have said that when he was 10 years old. So
I wouldn't doubt that.
You wouldn't doubt it. But yeah, and that's how I became to know him, and that's where I know it's in him, and I want to see more of it.
We showed it on this podcast. What was it, 4 years
ago,
Pete?
It was
you and Paulie B. We're at the desk. I think we have this video, guys. Do we have? Oh, we don't have it yet.
They're getting it. They're downloading it in the system.
Oh, they're downloading it. They're converting it. They're uploading the MP3 and whatever things they got to do here. But he's been one of those. He was the number 1 national prospect. Went to Texas, then committed to Ohio State. Went there, and then said, no, Texas was the right place to be. And so
got your stuff you talk about. What'd you just talk about? You like these what?
Adversity and
right?
Yeah.
I mean, him in adversity, not only Ohio State to Texas, but he's had to hear Arch Manning and that crap the last 2 years.
Sure.
Right? Been able to handle that. I would say it was probably the toughest position in all of college football for any quarterback. Hey, damn, we're in the Final Four 2 years in a row, and all I heard was we should bench him for the other guy. And I'm pumped about Arch Manning, but I'm just saying that's crazy when you think about it. So he's dealt with a lot. He's going to be mentally tough. He's obviously shown the ability that he can block outside noise out of his brain, and I think that's impressive as well.
How high would he rise? Say you give him most favorable interpretation that it was just really the injuries, and he talked about that when you talked to him at the Super Bowl, I believe.
Yeah, I did.
So he said about he couldn't let it fly. It was these injuries. What if that was it? What if all these things were just like, it was just injury? And once you get back fully healthy, he's able to let it fly on some of these things. Obviously, you don't believe that, or you'd have him higher.
Yeah.
But
No,
is
but
there at
there
least
is
a
that. Like,
chance
you
that
do
that's the
see
case?
more quality explosive throws early in the year than you do compared to late in the year.
Yeah.
You could see a difference in his body because he can't work out late in the year because he has the oblique
Yeah.
and the bad ankle injury. So you can't do upper body, lower body. You can't do anything when you got those injuries. So you do see that. Early in the year, you definitely see more movement and more, maybe, let's say, power throws. So, and I think if it was all year long and all of that, right? Yeah, would he be able to maybe rival a Jaxson Dart and all of that? He has that type of talent to be right up there with that.
Yeah.
To me, it's just the authority in which he throws the football at times is going to be just the big thing that people, I think, are going to evaluate him and want to see him do at his pro day. They're going to start to say, hey, you got to throw this ball into some tight windows here. Let me see you let it go a little bit. Can you still control it? That's the thing there, right? Gets the ball out of his hand, like I told you, like the camera, the screen stuff, the RPOs. He's as good as it gets in that department, right? Really quick. Has multiple arm angles, all of that. Effortless thrower on the run. Effortless. Because of that flexible arm, it's just slingshots. So right, left, it doesn't matter which way he goes. He can throw high-level throws running to his left. In fact, like you might remember, the Michigan game, they were down there maybe about the 8 or 9 yard line. They sprinted him left. Matthew Golden ran basically like a comeback route. So he got about 5 yards into the end zone and then came back, and he's sprinting to the left. He's going to throw it right at the front pylon. And, I mean, he throws a laser. Perfect on the run. I don't know if you remember it, but either way, it was against your team, and I wanted to rub it in with my team beating them.
I was busy. I was on the road.
That's where he is very good. And then, right below that, I wrote, you definitely see a difference in movement after the injury.
Okay, so
I got more, but
a little bit of injury.
Yeah.
Lance Zierlein from NFL.com says he spins it with the sudden release, good touch over the first 2 levels, makes it look easy when he finds a rhythm, but he often predetermines his targets, throws into coverage instead of taking what the defense is offering, is one of his insights. Pro Football Focus says Ewers' arm talent will get him drafted, but his inconsistencies are too prevalent, must clean up his footwork, pocket management, post-snap diagnosis, and play under pressure to succeed in the NFL.
yeah,
What do you think about
I think
those analyses?
there's a lot of truth there to that. What was the one part? There was one other part you said there that I wanted to hit on. Yeah, but hold on, man. He's finding rhythm, predetermines his target. He got a little. That's what I wanted to hit on. A little bit of, I think, because of his arm and his ability, and he feels like he's slick and can do that. They're a little bit like Kyle McCord, where there's a few throws every game, or every now and then, where you just go, no, you can't do that. You can't fit that in there. There's definitely that. It's because of great confidence in his arm. But still, not where you're like, oh, I'm concerned about his ability to make decisions or do any of that. Again, there's other ones too, like I said, where I just don't know about why we chose to throw the ball that way, right? The appropriate throw is important, and I think he's going to have to change that a little bit, as far as where his mind and his eye meet up in that department. He knows where to get the ball out of his hands when he's in trouble, right? Makes high-level throws look really easy. When he does use his body, and it's few and far between, the ball absolutely explodes out of his hand. Explodes. But it's so few and far between. You might go a full game and you go, he threw 33 passes that game. I don't think he threw one where he really was like, let me drive this in there, right? So that's what I want to see. But the touch is great. Can flick it, can drop it, right? Spirals. Is he going to go to another level in the NFL when he realizes how he has to throw it, right? The guy that always comes to my mind in this department is Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, one of the things with him coming out was how strong is his arm. And when I first turned it on the film, I was like, damn, does he ever throw a fastball? Everything's kind of the changeup. You had to dig a little bit. And then you get into some higher quality games and you go, oh, there it is. Damn, okay, he got, all right, 10 plays later. Oh, there it is. Okay. That's what people are going to have to just see and kind of dig through that. Can he do that at a consistently high level, right? Not going to make something off schedule very often. Injuries are a little concerning. He is a below average athlete for 2025. Right? There are times where he's another one where I go, I wish he was a little bit more aggressive as a whole as the decision maker, because he's a gifted arm. So, and I know a minute ago I said, yeah, he might make a reckless one every now and then. But more times than not, like, I wanted to go, hey, you can make that throw there on the 20-yard out route. Why did you settle so quick to just throw the guy in the flat? You kind of had the corner in a high-low, and you decided to be conservative there. So there was that.
Projected third-round pick.
I think
it's kind of sounding like you agree with that range.
I would think that's about it. I would say that's about where I would see it. And like I said, I think this is a year where we're going to see second and third round quarterbacks. This will be a rare year. Yeah. Some of these other guys we're going to talk about in a minute, I think they can be in that department as well. So, he could get off the first read quicker. He's spoiled by Sark, right? Because Sark gets the first read open so often. Few plays and yards left on the field in every game just because he's not aggressive enough as the thrower or the decision maker, right? Tries to drop it on spots too much. He has great potential. That's how I ended it.
He's always been good.
Yes.
That TikTok you mentioned a long time ago, I don't think we were able to convert that MP3, but we'll get it for the reaction podcast.
Okay. We got that coming on Wednesday.
So you have done it. You have ranked your top 5. We'll talk about some Robin Hoods here in just a second, but we got a lot of red. We got a lot of orange. This is happening again. I feel like, what was it, 2 years ago with the color wheel, and we'd go from orange to red and whatnot. Here we go again.
There it is.
It's happening.
Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jaxson Dart, Kyle McCord, Quinn Ewers, right? And again, there might be some guys where you look at it and go, oh, their film might be a little cleaner than Ewers or McCord, but Ewers and McCord have an arm and ability to be a starting quarterback one day in the NFL, in my belief, and do it and not just be like, oh, they got to come up with 90 different plays just to make it work. Like they have the potential to really be a starting quarterback and make plays. Some of the other guys that we're going to talk about here in a minute that are, honorable mentions or whatever, yeah, they could play quarterback and do all of that, but I'm not sure I ever see an avenue of where they're going to be a starter, right? That would be the thing I would say. And that's, to me, maybe the little bump I gave McCord and Quinn Ewers as compared to the rest because of I think there's potential and stuff in their arm that is just a class above some of these other guys we're going to talk about in a minute.
Out of those quarterbacks, how many would you feel comfortable starting day one in the NFL? Cam Ward? And is that where it stops?
I think Shedeur could start.
Okay.
I do.
So your top
I think
two.
Shedeur is smart enough, mentally tough enough, throws the ball strong enough to do all of that. Yes, I do. And I think Jaxson Dart could too.
Okay.
I do. I think he could, right? I don't know if he could do it as high a level as the other two, but yeah, I would say that's about my thought on that one.
Okay. All right. Now for the guys who just missed your list, the Robin Hood quarterbacks, and these are names that you have mentioned before on this podcast as you were going through.
Yep.
You've talked to some of them. Your first guy is from Louisville, Tyler Shough, who had a relative athletic score of 9.71 out of a possible 10, which ranked 30th out of 995 quarterbacks since 1987. So one of the most athletic quarterbacks we have seen. And you liked him a lot.
I do like him.
Not quite top 5, but just on the outside.
Thought about it. I mean, he certainly was in the conversation, certainly. I think the big thing with him is that some of that athletic ability you're talking about does not really show on the film. And his arm, to me, was not quite in the class of a McCord or a Quinn Ewers. And with on top of that, I think they have untapped potential to go up to another level, right? Where I kind of look at Tyler Shough and go, no, he is what he is, right? Good player, been coached well. He's tall, he's big, he's got good mechanics, he's a smooth thrower, right? You saw that at the combine, but he's not a wow thrower. He is accurate, it's effortless, all of that, no doubt. He can throw it off platform pretty well. All right, I give him a lot of credit there. He definitely got some sidearm in that department. Lets his base get too narrow at times. It elongates his delivery. It's the slowest release out of anybody we've talked about to this point, okay? Doesn't make people miss in the pocket a whole lot. Again, the athleticism of what we saw at the combine and all these scores and all of that, you don't see it quite to that extent, right? But does know where to go with the football, that's for sure. And he's another guy that I look at to be like, one of these second, third round quarterbacks. He might be drafted in front of Quinn Ewers. I don't know. I think it'll be close. I get that, but I like Quinn Ewers' top end potential more than I do Tyler Shough's. I think that's probably that is the reason I put him in front of him.
So there's going to be NFL coaches that look at Shough and be like, man, I like a lot what he
They're
does
love
right
he
there.
operates
the
the
ceiling's
offense,
not
he makes
there, but he
decisions.
can.
Exactly
if you got
right.
a backup
That's
quarterback,
it. Way to explain it for
Yeah,
me. Right.
a backup
Not as
quarterback.
quick with reads and recognition as Ward or Jaxson Dart, right? With intermediate plays, he can't just see it and let it rip like the other guys, right? That's where like you could see McCord, Ewers, Shedeur, Jaxson, Cam Ward, they look to the left and then, oh, come over the middle, here comes a crosser, and they just like, it's like, damn, they barely looked at it and just let it rip. That was not part of his thing. He had to sit there and kind of gather and look and make sure he saw it right and did it, right? Rarely drives the ball. Everything is kind of again, a lob throw, and let alone, I don't think his top-end power is of that of McCord or Ewers when you kind of look through it that way, right? Not enough pop from his legs at times, and because he gets that like feet together and it becomes an elongated motion, that hurts him. Good player who knows how to play QB, has had good coaching experience. There's no limitations, but there's nothing elite or special about his game. Maybe could be a starter, right, on day one. But I think he can be a starter one day,
Yeah.
But really, I think he's a really good backup for a long, long time. That's kind of what I look at him, and hopefully he proves me wrong in that department.
Had some injury issues too, shoulder and collarbone in college. Next quarterback, Dillon Gabriel, has got some height issues and size issues.
That's the biggest problem.
From Oregon.
That's the biggest problem, right? When you watch him, it's quick decisions, it's quick release, it's more power on the arm than you would imagine throwing the football, But the size is real. The size is a real issue. One is when he wants to throw the ball down the football field and throw a little more power on it, his arm definitely gets longer. He does need space that way. And I would say also, too, the other thing that jumps out, there's a few plays every game where I go, one of the bigger quarterbacks is going to throw that, but he can't quite see it because people are like in his face or whatever, and he's just not sure what he's seeing down the field because it's cloudy. Where I'm going to go, no, Shedeur would have thrown that, or Jaxson Dart would have thrown that. So there's plays and throws missed, in that department. But he is a damn good little athlete. He does know how to play. He knows where to go with the football. He certainly does. He's got the abilities to be a good backup quarterback. He does got sidearm when he needs to. And I think the thing that jumped out to me more than anything was that the ball pops out of his hand a little bit more powerfully than I thought.
Yeah.
But again, I think the size limitations and the fact that the NFL game's a little different, and the pocket and the way it can collapse, and you got to throw balls in that environment, still throw it down the field and be accurate. That's where I worry about Dillon Gabriel a little bit.
Lefty like Tua, 2 inches shorter than Tua, but would he be the perfect perfect backup quarterback for?
He would be
for them.
He really
wouldn't
would
have to
be.
change much. Sounds like they do a lot of the same things.
Exactly. I mean that could be. I mean that's again, you want him in that kind of offense. He's not like, oh, we want him to sit back there in a downfield throwing offense where he's going to stand in the pocket and wait 5 seconds. No, you wanted him to be a wheeler and a dealer, get it out. He's slick with the ball. And, yeah, it would be that type of offense that you would look at that makes the most sense.
There's another player you wanted to mention as honorable mention.
Yeah.
Not on a whole lot of people's lists. Graham Mertz from Florida.
Well, he got hurt this year, right? He transferred from where? Was it Wisconsin to Florida, right? And I like Graham Mertz from what I saw. Well, first off, great look, great size, good legs, very nice motion. Really one of the sneaky, more powerful arms in the draft, in my opinion, when he was standing there in the pocket. You talk about the ability to throw 30-yard corner routes and 25-yard in cuts. I mean, he could throw them he could put a lot of heat on it with very little effort. I liked his motion, his mechanics. He's a better athlete. He could play the position pretty well. To me, he was kind of one of my most pleasant surprises of this whole process. I didn't really realize his physical ability was quite that good, and I didn't really realize maybe he's a little more polished than I thought playing the position. Right? Deep outs, crossers, ease, sneaky power in his arm, can sometimes get a little flicky with his wrist, right? But he's calm and poised in the pocket. Spins the ball well, can get it out quick when he needs to. You see him go through progressions. I mean, there's a lot to like there. I mean, he's definitely another guy that I was intrigued by, and I think his stock would be higher if he didn't get hurt during the year and kind of get supplanted by the young guy there at Florida.
Tore his ACL, so now maybe a little under the radar. Was at Wisconsin
exactly right.
before then. You're right about that. Graham Mertz maybe in the conversation. Jalen Milroe. This is going to be an interesting one.
This is like a little different tier here.
So this is different tier than what those three guys we just mentioned.
It's honorable mention, but it's also like I think there's more than that. Like those guys right there, I think are like that I just talked about are capable of being like NFL backups on day one, right? Like right away. At the very worst, like they've looked like me. They have the skills and the mentality to play in the pocket and do all that. Where I'd go, some of those guys that we talked about in honorable mentions, they could make it happen in year one as a backup.
So we get to the guys that need to be molded, that have the raw abilities maybe, but there's some work to be before you throw them to the Lions out there.
Exactly, some polish to be to be added to them to make them a little bit smoother and better at the game.
So there were times this year when you were talking about Jalen Milroe and some of the things he did, I think specifically early in the year, we were like, wow, that arm, wow, the stuff he can do with his legs and his body as a runner. This is really elite stuff. JT Rocheleau says, what makes Milroe different from Anthony Richardson? A few drafts ago, both great runners, huge arms, but accuracy/processing issues for both. Richardson goes top 5, but Milroe is just a day 2 guy. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah,
we're about to hear your thoughts.
It's a little crazy that way. It is.
Are they similar-ish? I mean, Anthony Richardson is such a big guy. I don't think Jalen's quite
Milroe's
that big.
not that big. 6'2" and change, right? 217. Milroe had probably more on his plate than Anthony Richardson did at Florida. I mean, Florida, where they helped Anthony Richardson, is it wasn't all on him. Right, he'd have games where he'd go. He threw the ball 14 times. He was 9 for 14.
Yeah,
he had a few good runs.
Still does that to this day.
They couldn't do that with Jalen Milroe. They needed him to throw 40 times every game, and within that, it exposed some flaws as the season went along. Right, that was the big thing. And if you watched our Big Ten show in Week 5, I was going, Jalen Milroe's looking like he's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. He's the best player in college football. I mean, he was a highlight show every week. I mean, go back to the Georgia game. He was phenomenal in that game.
Yeah.
He makes a lot of wow plays. His arm is wow. And that was the guy, of course, I was talking about, right? That would be in the stratosphere, I think, of Cam Ward or Kyle McCord as like wow arm when you see it.
You put the miles per hour on it.
He can go and he can really spin it, right? But it is raw. And where the season fell apart is as you saw it, and I told you this before we started the show, when teams started to figure out the new offense that Alabama was running and the first read started to get taken away, it really started to fall apart. And it started to become bad decisions, inaccurate throws, and all of that. When he knew, hey, I'm going to throw to the first read, he'd drop back, he'd get his body in the right position, and he'd throw balls and he'd go, that's as good as anybody in the draft. That's beautiful. Shoo, laser, right? On the money, boom. But then it became like week 7, and all of a sudden it wasn't open, and it was like, oh shit, what's he gonna do? Where's he gonna look? Where's he gonna throw? I don't know. And he might just stay on number 1 and still try to fit it in there, or just throw it over there, even though it wasn't a real throw. Or we don't go to the right place after 1, or it became just running, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that was the big thing there. It started to fall off. And then what happened on top of that, as I've told you, is his mechanics fell apart a little at the end of the year. He got really open as a thrower. And what I say is open, right, for a right-handed quarterback, you want your body to line up just barely left of the target you're throwing to, right? Like if I was throwing to the camera here, I just want to be the arm right here, just left of the lens, right? He at times would be like this to throw a ball there. And there was too much of that. And then it just became arm, and I'm trying to do it righty just to show you instead of doing my natural lefty. But that led to a lot of errant throws and the ball being all over the place. So it's the tale of 2 seasons, because when you start the first start of the year, and if you watch the first few games, you'd go, damn, this guy's special. But then you get to the end of the year, and it starts to fall apart as far as decision-making and throwing the football.
Yeah.
And that's where he needs work in those areas for sure.
I mean, back in the Trey Lance draft, he was number 3 to the San Francisco 49ers. And, I mean, different players, but
right.
Same hopes, right? Is that you got guy with enough physical tools and running ability that the throwing will eventually come.
There's some aspects that I would tell you that I like over Trey Lance. I like his motion better than Trey Lance. His top-end potential as a thrower to me is greater than a Trey Lance. It is. You get to see enough, and we have games, again, where I'd go, they put more on his shoulders in early start of the year than any game Trey Lance ever had him at North Dakota. Like, not even close.
Yeah.
You know, they were asking him to carry the team. Again, Alabama's defense and their running game were not really that great this year. And they started off the year, 6-0. It was because Jalen Milroe was a highlight film to start the year. But, yeah, those are things he's going to have to continue to stay on. There is potential here. He's tough, right? He's tough as hell, in the pocket, running the ball, all of that. There's not a lot of variety of arm angles. There's not a lot of variety of throws. That's the next thing we got to go to. Every throw is kind of the same. Shoo, shoo. There's not a lot of touch or float the ball over this guy or flick it over that guy, right? That's what we got to get. It's not smooth all the time. You know, you've heard me say there's no shoulder turn. It becomes a little armed, right? And that's where he really became inconsistent in accuracy in his accuracy. And he can change his speed of his motion, where it's drop back, I'm going to be smooth, and all of a sudden it's real quick, I'm going to throw it. And that's not easy to. You don't do that. Like just with a golf swing or whatever. If you had three different launch points in your golf swing, like slow back, let me go faster, let me go really fast. You're going to hit it everywhere. Right? It's too hard.
So if you're a GM of a team, what situation would you take him in? What would your plan be for him? When would you take him? What circumstance would it have to be for you to take him in the NFL? I think
that you want to go somewhere where, to me, he's the guy that gets like 5th round, maybe late 4th. You bring him in, he's our 3rd string, but like we think there's a future for this kid. And we see where it goes from there. And we try to work on these type of things. Because I think he is that rare guy of like 4th or 5th rounder that has some starting caliber potential traits. I mean, his running, his athleticism is off the charts good. Off the charts. He looks and acts like he wants to be a quarterback. So that's a positive thing too. But yeah, with all of that, there's some work to be done in making him a complete quarterback that's not quite there yet.
It's going to be fascinating. So he's a guy that has obviously those tools that you look at and you're like, strong arm, best runner of any quarterback probably in this draft class.
Classifies more as an athlete who's playing quarterback right now than the quarterback who's an athlete.
Same thing we said about Notre Dame's Riley Leonard at times when we were watching him.
Yes.
As a runner, you're like, okay, he's a pretty good runner of the football.
Right.
Is he a good quarterback with the football?
And again, no, it's not always perfect with Riley Leonard in that department. It's not. And you certainly know that even they don't totally trust him by watching the football game. I mean, there's certain parts of the game where it's like, they don't trust him. They don't want him to throw the ball a lot. They don't want to. They're going to throw these throws because they don't know what he's going to do. Got better as the year went on. And let me just say, when he throws it well, it opens your eyes. You go, that looked really easy and natural and perfect. So between that, the size, the kid's smart, he's a really damn good athlete. He's way bigger than people realize. And the arm, seeing it in person, too, there's just more power behind it than maybe TV gives it credit for. I think because he's so long and he's got long arms and square shoulders and big hands and all that, he can kind of throw his fastball and it looks like he's kind of just relaxing, throwing it out there with a pitch and catch in the backyard or whatever.
Sure. But
then when you see it, you go, oh, damn, that ball's moving a little bit. And he showed me already, just between the end of the season and the combine, that mechanical things can get fixed in a hurry. So you see that, you see the end of the year, you started to see more quality big-time throws because they had to. They started to realize, like, hey, we're not going to beat some of these teams in the college football playoff unless you make a few throws. So they put the pressure on him in that department. He did that. He's tough. It's nowhere near a finished product. Again, just like a Jalen Milroe, he'd be a guy where I'd go, man, let's draft him, 3rd string. Hopefully by next year he can be our backup. And then hopefully another 2 years from now, if our starter got hurt, we go, damn, maybe Riley Leonard could be a starter for us one day. Do something like that. That's what you want from Jalen, Milroe, and Riley Leonard. And to me, they're one of the few guys that are down the line a little bit out of our 6 or 7 or 8 top guys where I go, there at least is some physical attributes there that can point me towards them being a starting quarterback in the NFL one day. And that's why I put them in a little bit of the potential but need work kind of category for this quarterback class.
John Guyett on Blue Sky, who is messaging you over there on that new platform, said, howdy, Simms. What do you think about Riley Leonard? Does he seem like he has some big upside potential if he can sit a year or two? That's exactly what you just said right there.
So.
He's got a little bit of the Shedeur Sanders thing here, too, because Shedeur, you're talking about going to a program, changing the culture, and they win. He goes to Duke, and Duke has one of their better years than they've had in a long time. And he goes to Notre Dame. I know it's not all him. It's not just one guy, but they've reached heights that they have not reached in a long time.
And he dealt with, again, scrutiny like you talked about earlier.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, gosh, there was guys like me in week 4 of the college football season. I would come on at halftime and go, you know, I think I said at one point, I checked the rule book. Notre Dame can throw the football. They're allowed to.
Oh, he got booed at home.
Yeah.
After
I mean,
the
there was games where you made fun of him almost because you were like, they don't trust him.
Yeah.
And you could tell he was a little off kilter.
Don't say I did that.
Oh,
I would never do
it all the
something
time.
like that.
You're always in my ear like, hey, they can't trust Riley Leonard. No, not really.
Not publicly. But he had a great year, and he ended.
He did.
And everyone
and he
loves
got
him
better
too.
and better as the year went on. He's obviously tough as hell, and he's a great leader. You know he's smart, going to Notre Dame and Duke. Those are going to help him out. And then you couple that with the athletic potential he has. Somebody's going to take him and try to work with him and make him into something for the future.
So those guys were not quite good enough to make your top 5, but they were good enough to make your Robin Hood quarterbacks for 2025 in this draft class. There they are. Chris, that's a very young-looking Chris Simms.
That is. We got to update that
too.
picture there. I'm a little pale too. I keep it tan these days.
Yeah. The Fox body's fine, and we're okay with that. Just the face that we're using for Chris.
right.
Real quick, I'll get you a couple fast hitters here.
You're good.
Brady Cook.
Yeah.
You liked him at the Combine.
I did.
From Missouri.
Yes.
Upon further review.
Yeah, he'd be another guy. He'd be another version of like has potential but needs work, right? Maybe I don't feel quite as confident about him as the other two I just mentioned, in Milroe and Riley Leonard.
Yeah.
But the athlete I like. Right, he did show improvement from the season to the Combine and throwing the football. There are some moments throwing the football I go, oh, I like the way that looks. But then there could be 8 throws in a row where you go, oh, damn, you can't throw it like that. Oh, it's falling apart here with some of the throws and all that. So he's, again, another guy that I think just has to continue to perfect mechanics, because that was the thing too. I'd see some games and go, oh, I like his mechanics, and I'd go to another game and go, well, he's kind of throwing the ball different this game, and that's why the ball's all over the place, right? So those are things he needs to work on.
Yeah, maybe a little disappointing after you saw him at the Combine.
Exactly,
You liked what you saw there.
Yeah.
Opposite for Will Howard, you did not like what you saw at the Combine, and so did a lot of other people, and to the point where I felt bad, and I was like, at least you won the national championship.
I know.
This is getting rough. Seapolt said to you, could a bad team draft Will Howard to be a starter? Does anyone think they could mold him into an NFL starter? So Will Howard goes to Ohio State, wins a national title, goes to the Combine, underperforms, and now where is he?
Hey, tough, good leader, did some really good things. No, starter, I don't see that in his future at any point, right? I really don't. It's below average NFL throwing, right? It's a below average arm. The decisions making is just okay. There's not a lot of different arm angles and all of that. Of course, he had elite talent around him. I think really in Will Howard's case, this is a guy that will be probably like practice squad, right? And he's just got to continue to become a better, more fluid thrower, a natural thrower that way. But yes, there's too many plays and throws that are just left on the field week after week. And of course, even within that, even in games that were good, you weren't like, oh, wow, what a throw. Oh, my gosh, what a play. Yeah, he can move a little bit and do some of that, but still not to a point where you went, oh, that's so special, I'm going to draft him because of his movement. That's not the case either. So, no, I think that's kind of going to be the arc for Will Howard. He's got some stuff to work on.
Flags fly forever, though. National championships fly forever.
Exactly
for Will
right.
Howard and Ohio
Legend,
State.
Ohio State forever.
You were disappointed in him. You know what I was disappointed in?
What's that?
The fact that when you came here, you had a pen in your hand and a notebook with paper.
I was hoping I was getting away with this.
Oh, my gosh. It's like you got the brand new iPad. You come here bragging about how you're entering this new phase in your life.
Because you know what happened? It became day to start breaking it down, and I was like, I got to get to work. I don't have time to set up all this shit and figure out how to write this. So I started writing in my notebook, and there was no turning back. So I've been thinking about you all week.
Every time
I open up the college film, I start to go, oh, I should be writing in my damn iPad. Ahmed's going to make fun of me. So I deserve it. I definitely do. But yeah, I'm stuck now because I'm done with quarterbacks. I'm done with running backs. I'm done with wide receivers. So I'm too deep into the notebook now to make the switch. So sorry.
Well, here's the cool thing.
Right.
You could do it in 2026. You know,
that's right.
Do it
Just
next
kick
year.
the can down the road to next year, everybody. All right. That's a podcast. We're done. Ahmed Fareed, as always,
done.
awesome. Thank you for leading me to my thoughts and keeping things concise during this podcast. You know where to find us. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Give us your reactions. Hit me up on social media. Hit us up. We'll answer some more questions. The Wednesday pod is going to be a reaction breakdown to really what you guys want to talk about, and we can get a little deeper into some of these guys and things I disliked about them, whatever it may be. But 2025 draft class rankings, that's it. And again, you know me, I'm not one to really change them after they're done. I've worked hard, that's it. I don't envision myself tinkering with anything here. I hope you agree. If you don't, hit me up. We'll talk about it more. Hope everybody's good out there. Enjoy the next few days. Peace out, homies. Clap it up.
Clap it up.
Thanks for watching Chris Simms Unbuttoned. Hey, just because the season's over, it doesn't mean we're over. We ain't going anywhere. The NFL never dies.
We're staying right here. Hit subscribe. We got every NFL move. We'll react to that. Plus, Chris has got 4,719 draft prospect profiles to do.
Thanks again for watching. Subscribe. You know where to find us. Peace out, homies.